In this scene, Dayan is in her room when Ijin enters and notices that she is hurt. Ijin asks if it hurts a lot. Dayan replies that it doesn't, it just stings a little. Ijin gently scolds her, saying that she should have been more careful. Ijin learns that Dayan fell on the stairs while trying to avoid a bicycle. Ijin says it probably would have been better if she had just been hit by the bicycle rather than falling. Dayan just laughs and says Ijin is right. Ijin, full of worry, asks Dayan if she needs to go to the hospital. Dayan just shakes her head and, after thinking about it, replies that she is okay. As she thinks, she imagines what would happen if she went to the hospital. She thinks that people will find out she didn't really fall down the stairs, so she decides it's better not to go. In the imaginary scene she is thinking of, Dayan is in the principal's office facing Ijin. Dayan insists that Ijin was the one who attacked her. Ijin denies it, saying she didn't do it. Even though Ijin was wearing a mask and a hat, Dayan is certain it was her because of her voice and mannerisms, identifying her as the one who always hurts her. Ijin gets angry, saying there is no evidence to accuse her. Ijin's mother and a man, possibly a police officer, are also at the scene. Ijin's mother is very angry and asks why her daughter is being treated like a criminal. Dayan says without proof that Ijin is definitely the one who did this to her, but no one believes her. Ijin's mother demands that Dayan apologize to her daughter and call her parents. At this point, Dayan bursts into tears while Ijin just smiles at her. Dayan thinks to herself that she doesn't have any evidence this time either, and above all, her grandfather would be shocked if he knew about the entire incident. Ijin's voice brings her back to the present. He is worried about Dayan and asks if she is okay. He tells her that thankfully, it seems no bones are broken, but she has a deep bruise that will cause her to be in pain for the next few days. Dayan's face falls as he speaks. She immediately notices Ijin's skill in caring for her wound and praises it, asking if the bandage isn't too tight. Dayan worries about her grandfather, who has a heart problem, and says he will not take the news well. Ijin confirms this is a concern and says he will talk to their grandfather, telling Dayan that she should rest first. As Ijin is leaving the room, Dayan thanks him. At the same time, Ijin smiles back at her. In response to his kindness, Dayan becomes confident that her decision not to tell Ijin the full details was the correct one. Meanwhile, Ijin has a heavy look on his face while thinking, and says to himself that there is really nothing that students like them can do in this kind of situation, indicating that he is still deep in thought. The scene changes, heading to Kim Kisu's place. One of the bullies is talking about the humiliation they experienced yesterday and how they will get their revenge. He says they should get ready now for a more effective attack. Kim Kisu agrees and then slams his glass of beer on the table, saying he can't miss this. He gets a call from his sister, Ijin. She asks what he's doing and he tells her to get to the point. Ijin offers her help. Kim Kisu asks what this means, and Ijin says that she has taken care of Dayan. Kim Kisu is surprised, but he says it was a good job. He tells Ijin that they were also planning to retaliate. Just then, one of them notices someone approaching the group's table. Kim Kisu is surprised and asks why Ijin is there, despite their problems. Before they can even react, a quick attack comes from Ijin. He strikes the face of one of the bullies and shoves him to the floor. Another bully tries to attack him from behind, but Ijin is ready and gives him a quick punch. Kim Kisu and the rest of the bullies are shocked. Suddenly, Kim Kisu shouts to attack Ijin all at once. Ijin just stays in his position, waiting for the next actions of the bullies. He immediately kicks the leg of the first bully who approaches him, causing him to lose his balance and fall to the floor. Ijin picks up the man from the floor and throws him against the wall. He is also ready for the next bully and gives him a quick blow. Another bully uses a bottle to attack. Ijin notices this, and a slap of his hand makes the bully lose his grip on the bottle. The bully is punched in the face as a counterattack, and another attack follows from behind. Ijin shows his skill in avoiding it, taking the bully's hand and giving a quick punch in return. Another bully who was on the floor tries to stand up again, but Ijin holds his head and hits it with his knee. Kim Kisu is the only one left, and he is very surprised by what happened to his group. While this is happening, Ijin's phone call with her brother suddenly drops. She is wondering and worried about her brother. Kim Kisu is filled with surprise and anger. He asks who this man they faced really is. Ijin replies, explaining that they shouldn't disturb his sister. Here, Ijin emphasizes his message that he is ready to fight for his sister and that Kim Kisu or his group should not bother her. Kim Kisu is confused and shocked at what happened. He notices how well Ijin uses his surroundings to his advantage and wonders how they can defeat him. Ijin asks what sin his sister committed against them. While pretending to ask, he suddenly throws a bottle at Kim Kisu. Ijin avoids it right now. Ijin seems unmoved and continues to stare at Kim Kisu, full of a fearless aura. Kim Kisu lifts another bottle and rushes directly at Ijin, but Ijin easily avoids this and the others. Ijin's last punch to Kim Kisu is really felt. Kim Kisu tries it again and punches, but Ijin is faster and has already landed a punch. Kim Kisu screams and lunges, but Ijin doesn't move and has no expression on his face. Like lightning, a quick slap on the hand is made by Ijin to break the broken bottle from Kim Kisu's hand. Immediately, Ijin grabs Kim Kisu's neck and pushes him up against the table. The pain on Kim Kisu's face is obvious while he can't move because Ijin is on top of him. While still holding Kim Kisu's neck, Ijin gives him a final warning. Ijin says that if he hears any more news that Kim Kisu's group is oppressing his sister, he will find them. He adds that Kim Kisu's sister should also be careful, because if she interferes with his sister, Ijin will also look for them. While Ijin speaks, his grip tightens and Kim Kisu's breathing hitches. He says he is having difficulty breathing, to which Ijin replies that this is not the only thing that will happen if they cause trouble again. After that, Ijin removes his hand from Kim Kisu's neck and walks out of the club, leaving Kim Kisu coughing at the table. The people around are silently looking at Ijin as he leaves, without moving or speaking. Meanwhile, a worried Ijin is outside because the call with Kim Kisu suddenly ended. She is with another bully, a girl, and they are standing in front of the club where Kim Kisu and his group were. They are surprised to see Ijin coming out of the entrance of the club. Ijin is scared and thinks, "Don't let this one come near." She worries that there is no evidence that she hurt Dayan. Because of her fear, she stumbles and falls down. Ijin just stands in front of her and suddenly his phone rings. Ijin answers it while talking to his grandfather, all while looking at the bully. When Ijin enters the club, she finds her brother Kim Kisu and his whole gang unconscious on the floor. In front of her beaten brother, she asks, wondering if they were beaten again by that man. Kim Kisu tells Ijin, don't bother his sister anymore. Ijin asks if he is scared of that man now. Kim Kisu shouts and says if she can't understand, he will beat her himself. Ijin's eyes widen in shock at what she heard from her brother. The scene changes to Ijin and his grandfather sitting together on a bench. Ijin's grandfather apologizes because he suddenly called him while he was enjoying the outdoors. Ijin answers that it's nothing. The grandfather asks Ijin about Dayan, saying he found out she was hurt and that Ijin bought medicine for her. Ijin confirms this. The grandfather shows his worry for Dayan. According to him, she doesn't say what really happened or how she got hurt. The grandfather says it was hard for him to raise Dayan alone, and there are many things he couldn't do for her. He admitted he has done much more for her than she has done for him, especially when he lost everything after an accident. Dayan became his support. His heart fills with pain every time he sees her hurt, and the fact that she doesn't open up to him makes him feel like a failure. The grandfather says that as children grow up, they talk less to their parents, so he asks what more he can do as a grandfather. Ijin makes a promise to his grandfather that he will watch over Dayan at school. Ijin says that he noticed immediately that his grandfather loved Dayan very much, and that Dayan feels the same way towards her grandfather. Because of this, he advises his grandfather not to be too worried. Ijin's grandfather seems enlightened and opens his mind to what Ijin said. The grandfather says he is very happy with Ijin's presence and his promise that Dayan will be watched over. In this scene, Kim Kisu is in a hospital bed wearing a neck brace. His father, a congressman, looks at him and remarks, Considering all the trouble you get into, I knew this would happen eventually. His mother, furious at her husband's comment, retorts, "Is that all you have to say after seeing your son like this? Are you saying that this is Kisu's fault?" She insists the fault lies with the person who hit him and points out that their daughter, Ijin, also has a broken arm. The father just sighs. Before leaving, the mother tells Kim Kisu to get well soon, promising that the person responsible will get what he deserves. After their parents leave the room, Kim Kisu questions Ijin, asking why she told their parents about what happened. He complains that it makes him look like he snitched after getting beaten up. Ijin asks what else she was supposed to say, given her broken arm and his hospitalization were impossible to hide. Kim Kisu asks if the person who hurt him was also responsible for Ijin's arm. Ijin hesitates for a moment before confirming, of course it was him. She tells her brother to just relax in the hospital while they plan their retaliation, vowing to show that person who he messed with. Meanwhile, Kim Kisu's parents are talking. The mother states that she has already contacted the chief. The father is surprised and questions why she would make such a big deal out of it, suggesting they should just leave it to the school. But the mother is not content with that idea. She points out that it's Saturday and she can't wait until Monday for the school to act, considering a potential expulsion to be insufficient punishment. The father asks if she knows who the chief really is, but she retorts that he's the one who has been cleaning up the father's messes for years. She emphasizes that she has already told the chief all the details and her husband doesn't need to know anything else. Ijin, who was eavesdropping from the hospital room, smirks, thinking the transfer student is going to get his ass kicked. The scene shifts to the mentioned chief, who is with two of his men. The men are complaining about getting involved in a childish fight, but one quiets the other, nodding that their boss can hear them. The chief looks uncomfortable, sighing about the situation. He recalls the phone conversation with Kim Kisu's mother, who was irate that one of her children had a broken wrist and the other was hospitalized, demanding to know if he would just let the perpetrator walk around unharmed. The chief, though seemingly uninterested, feels he cannot ignore the situation. At Ijin's house, he is sitting at his desk, deep in thought, wondering if things with Kim Kisu and Ijin will really end this way. Suddenly, he hears a conversation outside. There are unknown men looking for him at 10 o'clock at night. His grandfather asks what their purpose is, but the men simply say to call Ijin over. At this point, Ijin appears, telling his grandfather and Dayan not to worry, claiming the men are acquaintances and they will just have a short talk. The grandfather reluctantly allows Ijin to go with them. They arrive at a secluded location. The men introduce Ijin to the chief. The chief, taking a drag from his cigarette, orders his men to get this over and done with. One of the men tells Ijin that since he came quietly, they'll make it quick, though it will hurt a little. As the chief looks for the mother's number on his phone, one of his men mockingly asks Ijin why he had to mess with those kids. Ijin's emotionless reaction surprises the chief. In a shocking move, as a man tries to grab him, Ijin twists his arm and delivers a powerful elbow strike to his face. The surprise is clearly visible on the chief's face. Another man with a baseball bat appears behind Ijin, but Ijin dodges the swing. The chief is stunned by Ijin's ability to face a swinging bat. In a quick sequence, Ijin disarms the man, delivers a brutal punch to his jaw, followed by a knee to the stomach. As the man kneels, Ijin grabs his head and forces him to the ground. Another man grabs Ijin from behind, but Ijin uses his elbows to strike the man in the ribs and face, freeing himself. The chief realizes he is watching someone with extensive real-world combat experience. After his last attack, Ijin looks directly at the chief, as if to say he's next. The chief sighs at the thought of fighting a high schooler at his age, but as he approaches, he notices Ijin's stance is full of openings. The chief throws a quick punch, which Ijin blocks, surprising the chief. He smiles and follows up with a succession of punches. Ijin sees an opening and moves to the chief's side but finds a fist already in front of his face. The chief lands a direct hit, but as he looks at his fist, he realizes Ijin blocked it effectively, though his arm is hurt. Ijin wonders if the chief was waiting for him to step in, while the chief wonders who Ijin really is. Ijin simply states he's a high schooler, but the chief doesn't believe it, recognizing that Ijin is on a completely different level from common street thugs. The ability to attack while deliberately blocking every punch requires immense experience, yet Ijin does it effortlessly. For the first time, Ijin gets into a proper fighting stance. The chief attacks again, asking, "Are you serious now?" Ijin blocks the first punch and responds with one that nearly hits the chief. On the second attack, Ijin catches the chief's hand after dodging and successfully hits him in the face. The chief realizes Ijin is trying to block and counter rather than just avoid his attacks. He prepares again, but Ijin blocks him once more, then slaps him, follows with a direct hit to the ribs, and finishes with a strong blow to the jaw that causes it to bleed. Fallen on the ground, the chief is in disbelief that he was defeated by a high school student. He notes that from the very beginning, Ijin was never nervous, and thinks that the children made a grave mistake messing with someone like him. Back at the congressman's office, the mother is impatiently waiting for news from the chief. The father tells her to just wait. The phone suddenly rings. It's the chief. The mother shouts to put it on speakerphone. The father apologizes to the chief for his wife's request, but the chief says, "No, I should be the one apologizing instead." He explains that their children messed with the wrong person and that he has been beaten. The parents are stunned. The chief, a man respected even in the underworld, was defeated by a high schooler. As the call ends, the parents and Ijin hear a thud outside. They look to see one of their bodyguards collapse. Ijin appears in the doorway, shocking all of them. The chief, still on the phone, is surprised to hear Ijin has already arrived at their location. He wonders who this mysterious young man is and thinks he might need to quit his job. The mother, enraged, accuses Ijin of being responsible and threatens to report him for assault against her children and the guards, as well as for unlawful entry. Ijin agrees, suggesting they call the police. The mother declares she will call Prosecutor Choi, indicating her high-level connections. Ijin calmly states that he knows who they are, a congressman who has been elected twice and is running again. The mother continues her tirade, but is cut short when a video starts playing from Ijin's phone. The video shows a student apologizing to Ijin, who looks on with contempt. Other clips show Ijin and her friends assaulting another student, demanding 180,000 won, and then another clip where a student is told to bring 500,000 won by the end of the week, even if he has to steal or sell his body. The parents and Ijin are shocked. The mother stops her call. Ijin asks how Ijin got the information, but her father silences her. Ijin states he has evidence not only against Ijin but also against Kisu, who often filmed their bullying. He has videos of them beating people, stealing money, and the recent footage of them beating his sister, Dayan. Ijin's face is pale with fear. The mother asks if he is threatening them, but Ijin replies that the first threat came from the person who hired men to assault him, an act he also recorded. The mother is shocked into silence. The father concedes that Ijin's actions were because his children ganged up on Ijin's sister. Ijin replies that just as they always side with their children, he must protect his sister. The father offers to cover Dayan's medical bills and provide extra money, but Ijin refuses. He also refuses an apology, knowing it wouldn't be sincere. His only request is for Kisu and Ijin to stay permanently out of his sister's sight. The father agrees, saying he will transfer them to another school or send them overseas. Ijin and her mother protest, but the father silences them. He then asks Ijin to hand over all the video footage. Ijin responds with a terrifying gaze that startles the father and says, "You must think I'm an idiot." The father quickly backs down, saying he misspoke. Ijin then leaves the office. Upon Ijin's arrival home, his grandfather immediately asks if he is okay. Ijin smiles and says he's fine. Dayan says they were worried because the men gave off a bad vibe. Ijin tells her to worry about herself first and asks how she's doing. She says she's much better. Ijin then tells her, "You won't be falling down the stairs anymore. I cleared it out." Dayan looks at him with a hint of bewilderment. The next day at school, Dayan tells Ijin he doesn't need to walk her to class anymore as she's almost recovered. In her classroom, she overhears her classmates talking about how Ijin and her brother are transferring overseas and won't be coming to school anymore. At this point, she remembers what Ijin said. "You won't be falling down the stairs anymore. I cleared it out." Realizing he already knew everything and took care of it, she runs out of the classroom to find him. Ijin sees her and says, "See you later." Dayan, with tears in her eyes, replies, "Okay," as she cries with relief and gratitude. In a karaoke bar, Ijin's friends are discussing the news that she is transferring to another country. One of them asks if the rumor is true. Everyone confirms it, appearing shocked and unable to believe it. One girl notices Ijin, Ijin's classmate, and asks what she knows. Ijin confirms it's true, according to their teachers. A friend asks if she has talked to Ijin, but Ijin says she isn't answering calls or reading texts. They all seem confused, wondering why everything happened so suddenly. Ijin thinks about her last text conversation with Ijin, where Ijin mentioned there was a problem with a guy and that her mother was ready to ruin his life. Ijin wonders if this has something to do with Ijin's sudden departure, but dismisses the thought as unlikely, considering the power of Ijin's parents. The group's conversation continues, with some annoyed that Ijin always gets what she wants, while also acknowledging that her departure is a great loss because she was their wallet. Suddenly, Ijin arrives at the karaoke bar, shocking all her friends. With her arm in a sling, she sits down, saying she had a hard time getting out and is very annoyed. Her friend asks if it's true that she's going abroad. Ijin confirms it happened suddenly, but says it's only for one semester. She recalls her conversation with her father, who told her to stay abroad for one semester while he fixes the situation involving the videos. Back at the karaoke bar, a friend asks if it's really only for one semester. Ijin confirms it, calling it a vacation. When asked why, Ijin says it's a family matter, thinking to herself that she can't say the real reason because it's too embarrassing. Then, one of them asks about the guy involved with Kisu's gang. Ijin, not wanting to admit her brother's gang was defeated, says it's probably already been fixed. In the end, Ijin thinks the whole situation is humiliating and is angry at Dayan, who she imagines is getting her way now. The conversation continues, and Ijin decides to teach Dayan one more lesson. One friend asks if she is sure, and Ijin confirms it. Ijin, looking nervous, can't bring herself to speak directly to Ijin. Ijin explains that because she's leaving Korea soon, she wants to do it now so Dayan doesn't become arrogant. Ijin also reveals that Dayan's grandfather is a patrolman and that she plans to ask her mother to get him fired. She says that a disgusting bug like Dayan should expect this to happen. Suddenly, a man wearing a mask and hoodie arrives. Ijin is surprised and thinks she recognizes him as Ijin, but the masked man denies it. Ijin's friends wonder who he is. The man continues, saying that it seems everyone from the video is present, which confuses the group. He mentions the video of Dayan, indicating he intentionally waited for them to gather. Everyone grows worried and surprised. The man even asks why there's no music playing, sarcastically referring to their usual noisy chaos. He then closes the door with a loud slam, adding to the tension. The scene shifts to the hospital. Congressman Kim asks where Ijin is. Kisu answers that she left to say goodbye to her friends. The father reacts angrily, saying Ijin should have stayed quiet until their flight. Suddenly, an aide approaches the congressman, saying he needs to see something. He turns on the television. A news report appears, detailing a school violence scandal. The report shows videos of children, including Ijin, displaying violent behavior. The reporter mentions that there is a public outcry for harsher penalties for juvenile offenders. The most shocking detail is when the reporter reveals that the children in the video are the children of Congressman Kim In-bi. Kim Kisu's and Ijin's parents are stunned. Elsewhere, Ijin is seen walking on the street when the chief, whom he recently fought, appears. The chief asks him why he did something so public, especially since he thought Ijin wanted to resolve the issue quietly to protect his identity. Ijin recalls watching the video of Dayan being bullied and decided to take more radical action. He tells the chief he did it because he has a twisted personality. The chief asks if he thinks the congressman will just let this go. Ijin replies that the congressman will no longer have time to worry about it. Reporters reappear on TV, releasing more shocking news. There is now evidence that Congressman Kim is also involved in voting fraud, money laundering, and solicitation. The evidence is considered reliable, and his own party is requesting a thorough investigation. Because of this, Kim Kisu's and Heejin's father is dazed, unable to believe what is happening. Meanwhile, the chief asks Ijin if he also stole his personal files. In his mind, the chief realizes that Ijin must have found the sensitive information he had hidden on Congressman Kim. The chief asks Ijin who he really is, and Ijin again answers that he is just a normal high schooler. The chief smiles, saying, "Like hell you are." The scene shifts to the school, where Ijin is at his desk while some girls look at him, gushing. He receives a message from Dayan, saying she's going home alone and that he should take some time to have fun and adjust to the class. Ijin wonders what he should do for fun. Suddenly, Yunchin approaches and greets him, asking if he has time today. Since he has nothing else to do, Ijin agrees to go out with him. After class, Ju Hyukjin and Lee Yihyung confront Ijin about the rumors they've heard. According to the rumors, Ijin was the reason Kisu was sent abroad. The whole class is shocked. Ijin responds that they are mistaken. Lee Yihyung asks if it's true that he raided Kisu's base and defeated all his companions alone. Ju Hyukjin adds that everyone is saying they left school out of shame. Yunchin thinks to himself that perhaps Ijin is really good at fighting. Ju Hyukjin suggests they celebrate Kisu's absence and invites Ijin to join their group since he's new to the area. Ijin declines, saying he already has plans with Yunchin. Lee Yihyung insists they should all hang out together, looking menacingly at Yunchin. Yunchin quickly agrees. As the teacher enters, 2 new students follow him to the front of the class. Yunchin recognizes them. Shin Yuna, the granddaughter of the owner of SW, the largest corporation in the country, and Go Sukju, who is known to be her secretary and bodyguard since they were young. The professor explains that the two have returned from studying in America for 2 years. Ju Hyukjin and Lee Yihyung express their dismay, realizing their school life won't be as quiet as they'd hoped. As Yuna walks to her seat, the boys in the class notice her beauty. Behind her, Sukju notices Ijin and Ijin looks back at him. Yuna is surprised and asks Sukju if he knows Ijin. Sukju says Ijin wasn't in the data he received a week ago but that he will check again. When Yuna sits down, she continues to look at Ijin. When he looks at her, she gives him a smile, but Ijin immediately turns his gaze back to the front. Yuna notices this and pouts, wondering why he ignored her. Yunchin asks Ijin if there's any particular place he wants to go. Ijin says no, and that Yunchin can choose. Yunchin suggests a PC cafe that recently upgraded their computers. Ijin suddenly remembers a previous conversation with his lieutenant about normal life training. The lieutenant had explained that a PC cafe is a place Korean high school students must know, where they mostly play video games like Legends of League. He recalls being taught how to play by his lieutenant and other soldiers. In the present, Ijin thinks that his lieutenant's information was correct. Yunchin then suggests eating ramen at the PC cafe and going to Koka, coin karaoke, if they still have time. Ijin remembers his lieutenant's briefing on coin karaoke as well, another commonplace for high schoolers. He was even ordered to memorize a list of popular songs. After class, Sukju explains to Yuna that the new transfer student's name is Yu Ijin, and he is Yu Dayan's older brother. Yuna is surprised, as she thought Dayan had no other family except her grandfather. Sukju clarifies that Dayan's parents and brother were thought to have been lost in a plane crash. Sukju adds that they need to investigate Ijin, as he finds the sudden appearance of someone presumed dead, right before their own return from America, to be suspicious.